Snow fell thick and heavy on the night. Deep within the dark woods, inside a lone log cabin, embers in the hearth suddenly glowed to life. The clock on the wall chimed 8. A frantic pounding echoed at the door. Expressionless, I rose and opened it. A young man stood shivering in the biting wind and swirling snow, his thin jacket utterly useless against the freeze, his face flushed crimson. Could you let me stay the night?" he stammered, managing a sheepish grin despite the chattering of his teeth. With practiced ease, I ushered him inside. White text materialized in the air before him. Critical event triggered. Rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. Seeing the text, a flicker of triumph crossed the man's face, his lips curving into a knowing smile. An almost imperceptible smile touched my own lips as I added something discreet to the kettle, already whistling on the stove. He drank the steaming tea I offered without suspicion, the warmth a welcome reprieve. Tendrils of steam rose, momentarily clouding his vision. Then, abruptly, his face contorted. Foam flecked his lips. "You," he stared, disbelief warring with sudden, sharp agony. I simply smiled back. The next moment he collapsed, a grotesque parody of life leaving him as blood trickled from his eyes, nose, and ears. He was dead. New text floated in the stillness. Snowbound fatality, HP minus 100. Player eliminated. I dragged his body out the back door and buried it deep within a snowdrift. The startlingly vivid, plum-red blood stained the thick white mantle for only an instant before vanishing without a trace. Where the body lay hidden beneath the snow, a new moonpetal willow sprouted, its blossoms impossibly white against the gloom. A gust of wind stirred the backyard, and the garden of pale, spectral willows swayed like strands of woven silver hair in the frigid air. I am an NPC in a live-action horror game. To the players, I'm merely the keeper of this woodland cabin, a Sanctuary NPC offering shelter and a vital health boost. In reality, the bodies piled beneath the snow fill the entire backyard. Back inside, rinsing the teacup, I watched the blizzard intensify beyond the window pane. The wall clock ticked. Backwards, the hands settled precisely at 8 p.m., and the knocking began again. "Anyone there?" A trembling voice called out, barely audible above the wind's howl. I shut off the faucet, dried my hands, and moved towards the entrance. As I pulled the door open, a figure practically fell inside, bringing a blast of icy air and snow with them. The temperature in the cabin plummeted. Startled, suspecting an attack, I sidestepped instinctively, my hand already reaching for the knife, concealed up my sleeve. But the newcomer simply stumbled past my evasion and collapsed onto the rough floorboards. It was a young woman, already grievously wounded. Her eyes were shut tight, and the heavy, metallic scent of blood filled the air. A dark crimson stain was spreading rapidly across the fabric at her waist. Critical event triggered. Rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. The white text appeared, but she was too weak, perhaps already unconscious, to see it. I dragged her further inside and bolted the door against the storm. The crackling fire began to restore a little color to her deathly pale face, but she remained vulnerable, barely clinging to life. The perfect time to strike. Without hesitation, I drew the knife. Crouching beside her, I raised my hand, aiming for her heart. A flicker of survival instinct, perhaps. Her eyes snapped open with a final surge of strength. She grabbed my wrist. "What are you doing?" Fear flared raw and primal in her bloodshot eyes. I offered her a serene, gentle smile, even as I ruthlessly increased the pressure on my arm, breaking her desperate grip. The knife plunged downwards. Snowbound fatality. HP minus 100. Player eliminated. Her eyes widened in utter disbelief, the hand that had gripped my wrist falling limp beside her. Another one down. I shook my wrist, annoyed by the blood spattering the worn woolen blanket. Wrapping the body hastily, I began to drag it towards the back. Suddenly, incredibly, the knocking started again. Thump, thump, thump. A muffled, desperate plea. Is anyone there? I glanced sharply at the clock. 8 p.m. again. What was happening? Players never arrived this close together. There was always a cooldown. Panic spurred me. I heaved the body towards the back door. The player outside couldn't see this. Not yet, but the person outside was persistent, now shouldering the door with heavy thuds. Determined. The old wooden bolt groaned under the assault, splintering dangerously. They were going to break through. No time to dispose of the body properly. Shoving it desperately under the worn sofa was the only option. Just as I concealed the last trace of her foot, the door burst inward, the shattered bolt clattering to the floor. Sorry about that. The man who stumbled in offered a tight smile that didn't reach his cold eyes. I'm looking for someone. A girl, maybe late teens. Long dark hair. Seen her? He asked, his gaze sweeping the room. I summoned my default NPC stiffness, the blank smile. No, critical event triggered, rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. The text flashed. The man waved it away impatiently. Just an NPC, he muttered, seeming to relax slightly, pulling off the thick beanie that had shadowed his face. As he did, I saw at a striking resemblance to the dead girl hidden beneath the sofa. His sister. The broken door swung on its hinges, letting in drafts of frigid air that made the fire in the hearth gutter wildly, dissolving the cabin's fragile warmth. Apologies, the man said, glancing at the ruined doorway with a flicker of genuine regret before dragging a heavy wooden table to barricade the opening. He was tall, solidly built, stronger than me in a fair fight. I studied him for a moment, then turned and offered the prepared cup. Tea, warm yourself up. He took it, raised it towards his lips, then paused. What's this? Had he noticed something? My heart gave a painful lurch. My hand tightened instinctively on the knife hidden in my sleeve. It's hot tea, I replied, keeping my voice level. He lowered the cup, setting it aside untouched. I don't mean the tea. He crouched down, his eyes catching a glint of metal near the sofa's edge. He picked up a small, delicate ring. I mean, he held it up, his gaze sharp and probing. What is this? My blood ran cold. A ring. Near the sofa, it must have fallen when I hit her. Her ring. He was looking for a girl. If he recognized it, knew she was right there, I was exposed. My pulse hammered, sweat prickling my palms. Was there an inscription? I couldn't see from here. Too risky. If he suspected anything, I had to act first. He turned the ring over in his palm, frowning. But then, a different sort of light entered his eyes, the unmistakable gleam of a player sniffing out a secret. This kind of thing here, hidden quest item. Or maybe a clue for a side mission. Relief washed over me, so intense it almost broke my composure. He hadn't suspected the truth. He thought it was part of the game's design. Player assumptions could be incredibly useful. I quickly smoothed my features back into NPC blankness. I don't know what you mean, I mumbled evasively. He seemed slightly frustrated by my unhelpfulness, but appeared to accept it as typical NPC behavior. He pocketed the ring. Clicking something in the air, he brought up my details again. Cabin woman, keeper of the blizzard-bound cabin. Dialogue may restore HP, my official description. The helpful NPC. He had no idea about the glitch, the error in my programming. Anyone entering my cabin now was marked for death. The tea strategy had failed. I moved to light the incense sticks. I kept ready their heavy, sweet scent, not just soporific, but useful for masking the lingering smell of blood from the still-hidden corpse. Holding my breath against the fumes, I placed the burner on a small table. Now, I just had to wait for him to succumb. Though clearly puzzled by the ring, he seemed ready to let it go. He turned his attention back to me. "Cabin woman," he asked, "when will the snow stop?" "By morning," I replied, "if you live to see it." The cloying fragrance filled the small space. He yawned, stretching out on the sofa, rubbing his tired eyes. "Wake me when it stops, all right." I nodded, my hand tightening on my hidden knife. As he shifted on the sofa, it moved slightly. The toe of the dead girl's boot peeked out from underneath. My breath caught. I quickly moved forward, nudging it back under with my foot. His eyes snapped open. "Cabin woman, what are you doing?" The foot was hidden again. He peered towards the sofa, seeing nothing amiss. "Just clearing away the tea you didn't drink," I said, forcing the standard NPC smile as I picked up the untouched cup. He didn't look entirely convinced, giving me an odd glance. "Some kind of hidden mechanic," he muttered under his breath. He didn't close his eyes again, instead shifting onto his side, watching me intently. His scrutiny made it impossible to act. The incense was making me drowsy too. Feigning fatigue, I retreated to the backyard, needing the cold air to clear my head and hoping he'd finally fall asleep. Opening the back door, the icy blast hit me, instantly sharpening my senses. Worried the noise might keep him awake, I turned to close it, but a hand shot out, stopping the door mid-swing. "Cabin woman, where are you going?" He hadn't fallen asleep. He'd followed me. "So much for the expensive incense. Is there something you need?" I forced another smile, irritation churning beneath the surface. "Is there a dungeon back here or something?" His eyes scanned the snowy yard suspiciously. I knew this cabin was too simple. There has to be more to it. "There's no dungeon," I said flatly. "The cabin is just a resting place for players." He raised an eyebrow. "That's what you'd say, isn't it? But who knows?" Indeed. Who knew the thick drifts concealed a graveyard of players, watched over by the spectral moonpetal willows swaying overhead. He gestured towards the yard, and text appeared again. "New area discovered. The cabin woman's backyard." He took a step forward, then froze. "Requires level 50+. Current level 30. He couldn't enter." A wave of relief washed over me. "Please return inside, guest," I urged, guiding him back towards the house. "Damn it, can't get in," he grumbled, clearly frustrated. Knew there was something back here. But level locks were absolute. He scratched his head and turned back. Inside, the wind had dissipated the incense. The fire had died down to embers again. Sleep was now a distant prospect for both of us. His alert gaze unnerved me. I needed to end this. An idea sparked. "Could you help me rekindle the fire?" I asked. "Is this a quest? What's the reward?" He asked immediately, ever the player. I just smiled enigmatically. Right. Can't tell me beforehand," he said, nodding as if he understood perfectly. He crouched by the hearth, busying himself with the logs and kindling. His back was turned. My chance. I drew the long knife from my sleeve and lunged, plunging it deep between his shoulder blades. Warm blood sprayed. He gasped, stumbling forward, almost falling into the ashes. Choked cry of pain and disbelief escaped him. What the hell? Why did you attack me? Enemy attack sustained. HP -10. I wrenched the knife free and struck again. Didn't you ask me to fix the fire? What is this? He roared, scrambling away, finally reacting. He grabbed the nearest object, a heavy table lamp, and hurled it at me. It struck my forehead hard. I didn't flinch, merely frowned, and threw the knife with deadly accuracy. Shit. Already wounded, he moved clumsily, cursing. The knife sliced across his calf, opening a long, bleeding gash. Enemy attack sustained. HP -10. Are you crazy? What kind of screwed-up place is this? NPCs attacking players. Panic laced his voice now. He abandoned any thought of fighting back, stumbling towards the front door, desperate to escape. Furniture crashed. The sofa slid sideways, fully revealing the blanket-trapped corpse beneath it. I didn't bother hiding it now. Pulling the longsword I kept hidden under the table, I advanced on him. He hadn't seen the body. Escape was his only thought. He reached the door, yanking frantically at the handle. The door, so easily broken moments ago, now held firm, as solid as rock. Stormbound night. Cannot leave the cabin woman's woods. Raw panic flashed across his face. He slammed his shoulder against the wood, again and again. Cannot leave the cabin woman's woods. Cannot leave the cabin woman's woods. Cannot leave the cabin woman's woods. The same message repeated, mocking his efforts. Why? He yelled, still ramming the unyielding door. It was different now, magically reinforced. Give up. You can't leave, I said with a sigh, raising the sword. He spun around, eyes wide with terror. With surprising agility for an injured man, he rolled sideways, dodging my swing. I heard him gasp as the movement tore at his wounds. Still fighting back, I advanced, sword held ready. He lay panting on the floor, looking up at me. God, you're like some kind of ghost. A visible shudder ran through him. A ghost. I'll send you to meet some. But as I brought the sword down for the killing blow, my body froze mid-motion. Item used, time stop, 30s. Enemy immobilized. What? He had an item like that. A high-tier temporal artifact. I was stunned. My entire advantage lay in surprise and exploiting player assumptions, not direct combat prowess. I'd underestimated him badly. Level 30, but with rare gear. How could I possibly counter this? I was locked in place, a statue mid-strike. He, however, let out a choked gasp of relief, quickly replaced by a surge of adrenaline fueled by terror and rage. His bloodshot eyes locked onto my helpless form. Fear warred with a desperate, predatory cunning. He scrambled away from the arc of my frozen sword, snatching up the knife he dropped earlier. Time stop remaining, 25, 24. The cold system voice counted down. No hesitation. He launched himself forward, gripping the knife with both hands, and slammed it with all his might into my unprotected stomach. Agony, sharp and blinding, ripped through me. Even immobilized, the pain was absolute. The blade sank deep, careless. Beaten by this, my vision blurred, consciousness frayed. I couldn't move, couldn't defend, could only watch as he wrenched the knife free in a spray of my own blood. Through the haze of pain and impending darkness, one sound pierced through a raw, heartbroken cry torn from his very soul, filled with unbearable grief. Sister, whose voice? Fading, distant. Then nothing. Blackness consumed me. I was dead, and yet not. Pulled from the abyss, I found myself back in the cabin. The clock read 8 p.m. The man had just burst through the door. The girl's body was hidden beneath the sofa. Everything had reset. We both froze, staring at each other across the ruined doorway. How are you alive again?" He choked out, his face a mask of stunned horror. "What is going on?" Seeing the rekindled fury in his eyes, I reacted first this time. Discarding the useless knife, I grabbed the chainsaw from beneath the counter and lunged. Snowbound fatality. Enemy inflicted lethal blow. HP minus 100. This time he died by my hand, but as the life drained from him, his eyes held not just hatred, but profound confusion. His fingernails dug into my arm, a final, desperate anchor. Something was deeply wrong. The next instant, I was back again. 8 p.m. The firelight, the howling wind, the broken door, identical. Simultaneously, the man burst in once more. We locked eyes, paralyzed by the impossible repetition. He opened his mouth, then shut it, glancing down at his own intact body, then whipping his head towards the clock. 8 p.m. 8, he whispered, his voice hoarse. Confusion morphed rapidly into terror. "No, I died, didn't I? Time," it rewound. His gaze shot to the sofa, he remembered. His face drained of color, breathing ragged. A wild, desperate light flared in his eyes, a terrifying mix of impossible hope and deepening despair. It rewound, but to when? He surged towards me, not attacking this time, but grabbing my shoulders with crushing force. "Was it you? Did you do this? Make it go back further, before she died. Please, tell me how." His voice cracked, raw with anguish and desperate command. He saw me as the key. The looping had disoriented me too, but his reaction jolted me. I shoved him away. I don't know anything. This has never happened before. You don't know." He didn't believe me or couldn't afford to. His eyes turned feral. "Then die. Maybe if you die, time will go back further." He lunged again, driven by a frenzied, reckless energy far exceeding his previous attacks. Killing me had become his only perceived path to undoing his sister's death. Another chaotic, brutal struggle. This time, fueled by his desperation and my own confusion, we nearly took each other out simultaneously. And then, back again. 8 p.m., him at the door, me by the hearth. The cycle repeated, endlessly it seemed. Each reset to 8 p.m., he tried something different. Kill me faster, capture me, interrogate me. Even tried killing himself before I could kill him, hoping to force a different reset point. Anything to break the loop, to claw back time to before his sister died. Every attempt failed. Regardless of who died first or how, we invariably snapped back to this precise moment. 8 p.m. Post-mortem. His sister's body, a silent, mocking testament to his failure, always lay hidden beneath the sofa. After countless cycles, the frantic hope in his eyes finally guttered and died, replaced by an all-consuming weariness, a bone-deep despair. This time, upon resetting, he didn't charge. He just leaned against the broken doorframe, breathing heavily, his gaze empty as he surveyed the familiar, hated scene. He understood now. It was immutable. He couldn't save her. He was trapped after her death forever. Why? He murmured, the word thick with pain. Why couldn't it have been earlier? The helplessness quickly curdled into white-hot rage, directed entirely at me. He straightened, his eyes burning red, fixing me with a look of pure loathing. "It was you, all you," he roared, his voice raspy. "You killed her." He wasn't trying to change the past anymore, only to vent his unbearable grief and fury. "Asked if you'd seen my sister, you said no. Asked about the ring, you played dumb. You think I didn't see the panic in your eyes. And the whole time, the whole goddamn time, my sister was lying dead right here, under this sofa." He stormed across the room, violently kicking the sofa aside. exposing the blanket-shrouded corpse. You dare tell me you didn't do this? That it wasn't deliberate? He jabbed a trembling finger first at the body, then at me, shaking with rage and sorrow. He lunged, grabbing my collar. I smashed the nearest teacup against his head. Crack, shards flew. He staggered back, clutching his temple as blood trickled down his face. I'm just an NPC. Stop this madness. I slapped him hard across the face. I'm stuck in this loop too. If I controlled it, you think you'd still be here? I'd have scattered your ashes long ago. I flexed my wrist, the familiar motion of preparing for a kill. Briefly, clinically, I explained my situation, the glitched programming, the compulsion. You're saying the game made you kill people? He asked, the slap seeming to have shocked some sense into him. I gave a non-committal shrug. Damn game, he muttered, collapsing onto the now displaced sofa, the fight draining out of him. So, what now? How the hell do I get out of here? I considered the cabin's parameters. The storm locks the front door at night, but if we can reach morning when the snow stops, you should be able to leave. So we just wait. He glared at me. I nodded slowly, my gaze drifting towards the body on the floor. He intercepted my movement, grabbing my arm fiercely. What are you doing now? Isn't killing her once enough? I gestured towards the back door. Bury her, unless you want to watch her decompose right here. He recoiled, shoving me away. Don't touch her, that's my sister. I'm taking her with me. I won't leave her buried in this cursed place. Suit yourself, I replied with a shrug. You murderous NPC, what would you understand? He sneered. I opened my mouth to retort, but froze. The clock hands were nearing 8 p.m. again. How? We hadn't died this cycle. Thump, 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 the inevitable knock. Is anyone there? The man stared at me, his face tight with renewed anxiety. Who is it now? Another player, like you, I said, glancing from the corpse to the hostile man on the sofa to the door. Doubt gnawed at me. Why were they still coming? Normally, a zone wouldn't spawn a new player until the previous one was gone for some time. Now, it was relentless. Every time the clock hit 8, someone new arrived. Was there no end? Why 8 p.m. again? Will it ever be morning? He voiced my own fears, staring at the clock hands with dawning horror. Am I trapped here forever? We wait, was all I could say. Then, what about the person outside? He asked. I didn't answer, just walked to the door and opened it. Hello, can I stay? The snow's terrible out here, a young man shivered on the threshold. Critical event triggered, rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. He beamed at the text. I smiled back, didn't even let him step inside. A swift, clean cut across his throat. Snowbound fatality. HP minus 100. Player eliminated. He collapsed into the snowdrift outside, clutching his neck, his face a mask of shock. Then, like the others, his body dissolved into nothingness. You killed him, just like that. The man inside stared aghast. Why? It's my programming, I said, closing the door. Don't forget, I'm not human. Just an NPC. He swallowed hard, shrinking back slightly. Twisted programming. And soon enough, 8 p.m. arrived once more. The knocking resumed. As I stood to answer it, the man suddenly bolted past me. Run, get away from here, don't come in, he yelled through the wood. The knocking stopped. A suspicious voice from outside. Who are you? Another player. This NPC is a killer, stay away. The man pressed his weight against the door. Silence. Then, you pulling my leg, buddy. It's a Sanctuary NPC. It's freezing out here, you trying to get me killed. No, really. She kills everyone who enters. Then how come you're still alive, huh? The knocking turned into furious pounding. You trying to hoard the place, keep the final prize for yourself. Let me in, you bastard. The man held firm. The assault intensified. The player outside was now throwing his full weight against the door. "You won't open up, huh?" A pause, then a low snarl. "Fine, don't blame me for this." Crunch. The blade of a massive axe splintered through the wood near the top hinge. Another swing, and a huge chunk of the door flew inward, narrowly missing the man's shoulder. With a final heave, the ruined door crashed inwards. Standing amidst the debris was a burly man, heavily tattooed, axe resting on his shoulder. He scanned the man, his eyes flicking to the floating ID text. "ID 1030, level 30, he sneered. "Got some nerve, little man." His eyes fell on the sister's body, still lying exposed. He grabbed 1030 by the shirt front. "Knew you were hiding something. You killed her, didn't you?" He punctuated the accusation with a hard fist to 1030 jaw. "Killing women, huh, scum?" "No, it wasn't me." 1030 sputtered, desperately pointing towards me in the corner. "It was her." The big man followed his gesture, his eyes widening slightly as he saw me. You're the healer NPC." I nodded, stepping forward, offering the customary cup of tea. Critical event triggered. Rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. The text appeared. The big man released 1030, eagerly reaching for the tea. But 1030 darted forward again, knocking the cup from my hand. "Don't drink it, it's poisoned." The big man glared, shoving 1030 roughly aside. "Mind your own damn business, runt. Get lost." He then picked up the fallen cup, miraculously unbroken, and drained the remaining liquid. Snowbound fatality. HP minus 100. Player eliminated. The empty cup clattered to the floor. The big man crumpled beside it. The cabin was a disaster zone. "You're wasting your breath, 1030, I sighed, grabbing the big man's arms to drag him towards the ever-growing mound in the backyard. "Nobody's going to believe you. The system says I'm a healer. Who do you think they'll trust, you or the game itself?" Despite this, 1030 didn't give up. Cycle after cycle, he desperately tried to warn newcomers away. Almost none listened. They saw his low level, his frantic warnings, and assumed he was either crazy or trying to sabotage them. Only once did it work. A young girl, clearly terrified, actually listened and fled back into the storm. But 10 minutes later, she was back, sobbing at the door. "Bro, my health is critical," she cried, her voice thin and weak. "I've been wandering all day. I have to come inside or I'll freeze to death." 1030, conflicted, eventually relented and let her in. "Surprisingly charitable of you," remarked dryly. Critical event triggered. Rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. The girl was dressed in rags, her face blue with cold, frost coating her eyelashes. She stumbled towards the hearth, peeling off soaked socks to reveal feet raw and cracked from exposure. "Finally, warm," she gasped, huddling close to the flames. "I brought tea." 1030 immediately smacked it out of my hand. "What are you doing?" he demanded, shielding the girl. "She's just a kid. You'd kill her too." He warned the girl, "Stay away from her. She's dangerous." I simply smiled and retreated, finding a comfortable spot on the remaining undamaged chair. I wasn't in any hurry. 1030 remained vigilant, guarding the girl by the fire, his eyes constantly fixed on me. Remarkably, time seemed to flow normally this cycle. No reset at 8. The hours passed. Exhausted, I eventually drifted off. I awoke sometime later to the sounds of a struggle. Blinking sleep from my eyes, I saw 1030 grappling with the young girl. A dark, ugly wound gaped on his right shoulder where she'd stabbed him. Her earlier look of innocent fear was gone, replaced by cold calculation. "What did you do?" 1030 gasped, stumbling backward. "You die. I have less competition for the 10 million, she spat, lunging again with the knife. "Is money all that matters now? Is it worth your life, your conscience?" He choked out, barely managing to block her wrist. "Don't play innocent with me," she sneered. "Anyone in this game knows the stakes. You think I didn't see her?" She kicked viciously at his wounded shoulder, nodding towards the sister's body. "The girl under the blanket. You killed her, didn't you? Now you want to act noble." Pain lanced through 1030. The girl pressed her advantage, the knife point nearing his throat just as she bore down for the final cut, overwhelming him. 1030's free hand groped desperately on the floorboards beside him, searching blindly for anything to stop her. With a last, convulsive surge of pure survival instinct, he gripped the unexpected weapon and thrust blindly upwards. Blood sprayed, sizzling as it hit the fire. The girl gasped, impaled through the back by the blade emerging from below. She collapsed, instantly lifeless, atop him, panting heavily under her dead weight. 1030 stared, wide-eyed, at the sword somehow still clutched in his trembling hand. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up, 31. He shoved the body off him, scrambling back, his face pale and slick with sweat. How did this sword?" he whispered, looking from the blade to me, utterly shaken. "How was it even there?" I crouched beside him, meeting his confused gaze. "I put it within your reach." A long pause. "Thanks," he breathed. I disposed of the girl's body in the backyard, and time snapped back to 8 p.m. This time, 1030 didn't try to stop me. He leaned by the hearth, staring into the flames, his expression utterly desolate. Another 3, maybe 4 players came and went, dispatched quickly. But no matter how many cycles passed, morning never arrived. The clock always, inevitably, returned to 8. 1030 had become numb. He'd found a bottle of cheap whiskey somewhere in the kitchen cupboards and was nursing it steadily. "What if morning never comes?" he asked me, his voice slurred. "What if we're stuck like this forever?" I shrugged, gazing out at the relentless snow. "Day, night, it makes no difference to me. I'm an NPC. I'm always here, in this cabin. I can't go anywhere. Every day is tonight," stated flatly. He seemed to mull this over, then pushed the half-empty bottle towards me. "Twisted programming, you should drink too." I waved it away. "Allergic. An NPC allergic to alcohol," he snorted. "Then why keep booze in the kitchen?" "I don't know. You don't know anything," he grumbled, turning back to the window. "I can't stay here with you forever," he muttered. "What does that make me? An NPC too?" I looked at his flushed, despairing face. The drunkard NPC. Sitting around looking like that, what player would want to come in? He slammed the bottle down. "You think I want this? I just want to get my sister out of this hellhole. Screw the money, screw the rewards. I just want to be alive. Alive in the real world, not wasting away in this damned cabin." He turned to me, his eyes suddenly intense. "Do you understand that, NPC? Do you get what it means to have a life?" I shook my head slowly, watching the snowflakes drift past the glass. "I don't have a life." His drunken fervor ignited. "Have you ever even tried to leave? Just step outside." I thought about it. "No." "Well, try it," he insisted, getting unsteadily to his feet. "The game never said NPCs can't leave, did it? I can't get out, sure. But you, how do you know unless you try?" He grabbed my arm, pulling me towards the front door. "Who knows? Maybe if you break the rules, get out, maybe I get freed too." A flicker of something curiosity, hope, stirred within me. All this time, I had waited for others to knock. Never had I considered simply opening the door and walking away. I pulled the barricade aside and opened the door. The world outside was a maelstrom of white. The distant trees were blurred ghosts in the blizzard. Urged on by 1030, I took a hesitant step forward, extending my foot beyond the threshold. The instant a snowflake touched my skin, a searing pain shot up my leg. Exit error, exit error, exit error. Huge red letters flashed warnings. I recoiled, pulling my foot back inside. It's no use, I told 1030, defeated. I can't leave. Exit error. He wasn't looking at me, but at the fading red letters, his brow furrowed in thought. What does that mean? This cabin had 2 doors, the front door and, in the same instant, we both realized. We sprinted towards the back door. Could the exit be here? 1030 peered out eagerly. Requires level 50 plus. Current level 31. Access denied. The familiar white text blocked him. He pulled his head back in frustration. Damn it, what do you see out there? I stepped into the backyard. The high wooden fence surrounding it crackled faintly with energy if touched an invisible barrier. I searched the ground beneath the snowdrifts. Nothing. No hidden hatch, no tunnel. The only way out seemed to be up. I looked towards the sky. It was an unnatural, deep violet. The moon hung impossibly large and low, casting an eerie yellow light. For a disorienting moment, it looked almost like a street lamp. A thought struck me. What if there were things players could see, but NPCs couldn't? I turned back to 1030. You need to level up, I said, determination hardening my voice. Get to level 50. Maybe only a player can see the real exit from the backyard. He processed this slowly. Okay, but how do I level up now? A cold smile touched my lips. I opened a large cabinet, revealing rows of weapons. Knives, cleavers, poisons, the chainsaw, my sword, even a handgun. Remember, I said softly, when you killed that girl, you gained a level. He flinched at the memory, so now I continued, pressing a sharp dagger into his hand. Every player who comes through that door, you kill them, you want to leave, you want to take your sister out of here. This is the only way. He stared at the dagger, then at his sister's shrouded form, then back at me. His face was a mask of conflicting emotions. Finally, he threw back the rest of the whiskey, his face flushing crimson. The clock chimed 8. The knocking began. Let's begin, I said. Critical event triggered. Rescued by NPC cabin woman. X plus 10, HP plus 10. I welcomed the player inside, radiating false sanctuary. As they relaxed, relieved to be out of the storm, 1030 emerged from the shadows. A swift, brutal strike. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up 32. The dagger was replaced by a meat cleaver. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up 33. The cleaver became the longsword. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up 34. The sword yielded to vials of fast-acting poison. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up 49. The poison gave way to the cold steel of the handgun. Enemy defeated. EXP awarded. Level up 50. After an eternity measured in slaughter and resets, it was done. 1030 stood amidst the lingering echoes of death, his eyes vacant, his body splattered with gore. He dropped the gun, wiping absently at the blood on his face with a trembling hand. Level 50, he whispered, the words hollow. You need a break, I said, handing him a fresh glass of whiskey. He drank it down mechanically. Once the alcohol seemed to steady him slightly, I grabbed his arm, pulling him towards the back door. my own heart pounding with anticipation. I practically shoved him out into the yard. New area unlocked, the cabin woman's backyard. The text confirmed it. We locked eyes. Instantly, the world changed. The swirling snow froze midair. The howling wind fell silent. The moon swelled, descending until it hung just above the fence line, no longer resembling a celestial body, but unmistakably an artificial light source, an exit sign in the sky. New text materialized solely for 1030, new item acquired. Zephyr's draft X1 drink this, and the west wind shall lift you, freeing you from earth's grasp. Escape this cursed place. A flight potion. 1030 gasped, his voice choked with ecstatic relief. We did it. We can finally leave. He reached out, trembling, towards the small crystalline vial hovering before him, containing a swirling, pale turquoise liquid. I smiled at him, a genuine smile this time. Yes. Wonderful, isn't it? Wonderful that there's only one. As his fingers were about to close around the vial, I moved. Faster than thought, I lunged, snatching the Zephyr's draft from the air. I uncorked it and downed the contents in a single gulp. It tasted like pure mountain air, an exhilarating lightness flooding my limbs. 1030 froze, his jaw instantly replaced by stunned, horrified disbelief. What are you doing? You. He lunged, trying to grab the empty vial, but his legs buckled. He collapsed onto the snow, suddenly drained of all strength. What's happening? He stammered, struggling weakly, unable to even lift his head. His eyes were losing focus. What did you do to me? The potion was working. An invisible force lifted me from the ground. My body felt impossibly light. I began to float upwards, slowly, inexorably, towards the artificial moon, the exit. The whiskey I gave you, I said, looking down at his prone form, my voice calm, almost detached. Had a little something extra. Don't worry, not poison. Just a powerful sedative. When you wake up, you'll be the new master of this cabin. Thank you for finding the way out. Goodbye, 1030. As I ascended, white text flashed before my eyes. Text meant only for me. Subquest Snowbound NPC complete. Congratulations, Player 1007, returning to main quest. Player 1007. The ID sparked, white hot in my mind. Familiar. Yet alien, yes. I remembered now, my ID. As I rose higher, escaping the suffocating confines of the cabin, long-buried memories surged back. A tidal wave crashing over the barren shores of my NPC existence. I remembered. Long, long ago, I was a player. Like him, like all the others I had killed. I came here seeking rewards, excitement. Found the backyard, suspected an exit, but was blocked by a level requirement. Consumed by the desire to progress, to win, I chose the fastest path, hunting other players within the cabin's walls, stealing their EXP. But the original NPC, perhaps a genuinely kind old woman, discovered my transgressions. She tried to stop me. We fought. I killed her. And the game, in its cold, cruel logic, punished me. Or perhaps it promoted me. By killing the cabin's keeper, I inherited her role, her prison. The system stripped my memories, overriding my identity with the cabin woman. I forgot I was ever a player, forgot my original goal, that burning desire to level up and reach the backyard. Crucially, even if I had remembered or somehow reached the yard as an NPC, the system held no reward, no escape like the Zephyr's draft, for its programmed entities, only for players. With the true purpose erased and systemically unattainable for me, all that remained was the raw obsession, the ingrained method of achieving power, killing. This relentless drive, now utterly detached from any meaningful goal for my new existence, festered into corrupted programming, an endless cycle of murder. It became my perceived nature, an unfixable bug, a curse etched into my very being, compelling me to repeat actions that held no ultimate prize for the monster I had become. But now, seeing that message, feeling freedom rush back into my limbs, I remembered everything. I am player 1007, and I am finally leaving. My figure vanished into the glowing portal of the false moon. Below, in the backyard, the snow began to fall again. The wind resumed its mournful howl. White text appeared in the empty air, the cabin woman's cabin designation updated to the drunkard's cabin. The clock inside the cabin reset. 8 p.m. A tentative knock echoed at the front door. Anyone there? Could you let me stay the night? Groaning, clutching his pounding head, the man formerly known as 1030 stirred on the cold floor. Hungover, confused, and utterly alone, he dragged himself upright and stumbled towards the door, the cycle ready to begin anew.